Post bodybuilding show binges are real. You see it all the times, guys talking about how they gain 10, 20. I mean, Larry Will's like 50 pounds in less than a week after a show because you just go crazy, binging, drinking water. It's not good for you. And 2 years ago when I did my first bodybuilding show, I think 2 weeks after the show, I was up 7 pounds. Now that's not 10, 20, anything crazy like that, but still 7 pounds in 2 weeks is a lot. And I just finished a bodybuilding show last week. I'm a week past where I did it, and my weight this time is actually a pound less than when I started peak week. So I'm gonna tell you these 2 things you need to think about and do that will help you to avoid that post-show binge and not feel terrible or fall into body dysmorphia. So the 2 things you gotta think about when it comes to avoiding the post-show binge. The first thing is just your mindset. And I know that sounds like, oh, your mindset, you just gotta have control of your mind. It's really hard to do when you've been dieting forever and you're just thinking about all the foods you wanna have because you're so restrictive. But hear me out on this. Think about a powerlifting competition. Now, when you're training normally, if you're doing powerlifting training, you're probably training in the 5, 6, maybe even 7 rep range because you wanna lift heavy weights, stress your body, but you don't wanna do too much because the closer you get to 1 rep max, the more likely you are to get injured. And that's how you do your typical training, around 5, 6 reps. But as you get closer to that powerlifting meet, you start upping that weight and dropping the reps. So you maybe move to doing sets of 4, and then you get closer to the meet and you do sets of 3, and then you're doing doubles, maybe even some singles, but you're not hitting that max because you still don't want to get injured. You're just getting your body ready for what you're about to do. Then you get to the meet, you go all out, you do a 1 rep max, you hit a new PR, it's great. And then what happens afterwards, you might feel sore for a couple days because you're not used to lifting so much weight because you just peaked and did the highest you could absolutely do. I remember when I pulled 500 pounds for the first time, or only time, powerlifting, my whole back was sore for like 3 days because I just was not used to lifting that heavy of a weight, and it took a lot out of me. But then what happens afterwards? It's not like I'm gonna go back to training and think, you know what? I just pulled 500 pounds on the deadlift, so I'm gonna throw that on the bar and do that every single workout because I did it once at the powerlifting meet, so I'm gonna keep doing it. No, you go back to doing your heavy sets of 5, probably more than you did last time, but then you start slowly building up again until you get to your next meet. So what do I say all that for? Think about bodybuilding show. You're dieting for weeks and weeks, or even months in some cases, to get to your peak physique. And even think the whole week prior to the show is called peak week because you're manipulating water and carbs and all this stuff, to so much so that you look different on Saturday, Friday or Saturday on show day as you did on Monday leading into peak week because of all those changes. And so what happens after the show? You got to think about your body's depleted of all these carbs, you're dehydrated, you're gonna feel really thirsty, and you're gonna want to binge. And then when you go back to eating, you got to be careful because you have to remember that the way you looked at the beginning of peak week is what you're going to look like once you get normal amount of water and food back into your body, because as you're going into it, you were dropping all that stuff to peak and look a certain way. So you're not going to look that way on stage. We hear that, we know it makes sense, but then a few days after the show, when you're holding extra water, you might feel bloated. You're like, oh man, I just eat a little bit of junk food and drink some water and my physique totally goes away. You gotta remember, don't worry about that. Don't look at your body weight when you dropped all the carbs and water and all that and it was super low. Like I was 176 at the beginning of peak week. I was 170.8 when I started carbing up for the show because I had dropped so many carbs and water. So I based everything on my weight at the start of peak week, not what I was when I started my carb up. So you just have to prep yourself for the thought of, I'm not gonna continue looking like I did on stage. I'm gonna eat normally. By normally, I don't mean binging and going crazy, but really you're gonna feel extremely thirsty because you get so dehydrated, and then you have all the tasty carbs leading into the show and you really fill out, and then you just want more of that stuff, but then you start feeling really thirsty, like, I just want to keep drinking more and more water. And I was trying to be really careful. I drink a bottle of water and try to wait an hour or 2 and then drink some more and wait, so that I'm not just pounding like a gallon of water within 30 minutes and then just getting really bloated and feeling terrible. So it's like, you got to ease back into it and be careful. And remember that, like, I lost 5 pounds from the beginning of peak week to the end of it. Maybe a pound of that was fat because I was still in 1,000 calorie or more deficit a day. So we'll call it 4 pounds I lost. If that's all water, just think about, okay, I filled out with all these carbs, I'm like 175 on stage. When I drink a bunch of water again, we're talking about 4 to 6 pounds water that's gonna fill back up in my body once I start drinking water again. So just be aware the scale is gonna fluctuate a lot, and that can mess with your head, because when you see 171 and then 2.5 days later in the morning it's 180, you're like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. But just realize your body super dehydrated, now it's overcompensating and holding extra water, and you just keep drinking water. Don't binge. It's gonna fluctuate some, and after like 4 days it's gonna be back to normal pretty much. So be ready for that water retention, and just keep in mind to not have that all or nothing mentality, because it's easy to see, oh man, my weight went up so much, I'm just gonna bulk now, and then you just keep eating junk and more, and then you actually do start packing on the fat instead of it just being water. So just think in your head, you know what, just stop, because there's no way, unless you just binge like crazy, that you're gonna gain pounds and pounds of fat over like 2 days. It's mostly water, so just try to eat somewhat normally after you have a few tasty things or whatever after your show, and just wait for the water fluctuations to level out so you're pretty much back to normal. So the mindset is a huge part of it. But then the second is a diet plan. So last time I remember I did my bodybuilding show, I went out and had some pizza and ice cream afterwards, and the next day I went to a Sunday school party at night, and there were a bunch of cookies there, and I just remember, I think I must have eaten like between 15 and 20 cookies. I just kept eating and eating and eating because I'd been so restrictive, and I just wanted more and more. And once you start, it can be hard to stop. So you gotta be careful not to start eating all that junk food, and instead just think about, okay, I'm gonna keep eating what I was already eating, but I'm just gonna eat more of it. And what that helps with is, it's gonna help you not feeling terrible, because I haven't been eating cookies or pizza or any of that stuff. So if I start overindulging in that stuff, I'm gonna feel really bad versus eating all kinds of chicken and vegetables and rice and clean foods. Eat more of those clean foods so that you're at maintenance level, because once you get about like 4 or 5 days past the show, you've already filled up with carbs, so you really shouldn't be that hungry. I try to remind myself, don't actually start eating until you feel hungry, and be aware that it could still be thirst because I was so dehydrated. And so part of the reason you're so hungry, because you've been in a calorie deficit for so long. I mean, I talked to some guys that lost 50 pounds going into the show. For me, it was only 6 weeks, but I was in 1,000 calorie plus deficit most days for that whole 6 weeks. And so you feel more depleted and really hungry, but if you just get back to a maintenance level of calories, your body's gonna kind of level out. It's gonna help stop all those crazy hunger signals, and then you won't feel the need to binge. So the diet plan that I did is I added about 25% more calories. I was eating 2,000 calories a day, and I was losing like 2 pounds or more sometimes a week leading into the show. I was doing a lot of cardio, so I upped it to 2,500 calories, and I cut the cardio in half. So I'm still doing some cardio, and I'm upping the calories because I want to start building my metabolism back up and start burning it. And like the last 2 days, I've eaten 3,000 calories, and my weight's still just pretty much pegged. I was 176 the morning I started peak week, and I was like 174.5 this morning. So it's like I'm still slowly upping my calories to just get to baseline, and I don't really feel that hungry. Like, I don't feel fatigued anymore. I remember when I did a live stream, my last one, I think it was Sunday, was like my last hard workout leading into peak week, and someone was saying, man, you look exhausted, you look tired. And I was getting really tired, but part of that's because I'm just tired from being in a calorie deficit. It's literally an energy deficit, but now I'm at a maintenance level and I feel fine. My workouts feel fine. My testosterone did go down. I got blood test, but I'm also kind of interested to see, what if I maintain where I am, eating more calories at maintenance? Is that gonna make my testosterone go up? Because I was just in an energy deficit, but now it's more normal. You know, let me know what you think down in the comments if you've experienced that. But I actually, like 4 days after my show, I had one of the best workouts I've had because I was full of carbs. I had like 3 days of probably calorie surplus a little bit and then maintenance, and I was feeling great, like no problem whatsoever. And so I'm eating more food, doing a little bit less cardio, and just letting everything kind of balance out. And I'm continuing to add more food because I was dropping weight a little bit still, which is not something I want to do. I just want to try to maintain for now. So eating at maintenance will automatically make you feel better because you're eating enough food to sustain where you are versus continually trying to cut. And yeah, when you've been really restrictive, it's easy to just want to go out and eat everything. I remember telling a couple guys at the show, it was their first one, they're talking about going out and all the stuff they're going to eat after the show. And I was saying, hey, just be careful, because for one, you're just really thirsty, you need to drink water, try to eat somewhat healthy. And rather than thinking like, oh man, tomorrow I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna get a massive stack of pancakes, I'm gonna go get burgers later, then I'm gonna get pizza. Instead of just eating everything that you haven't had all at once over multiple days and feeling terrible and gaining a bunch of fat quick and getting into that body dysmorphia because you look at, oh man, I look so good, but now look at this. Pick one of those things a day and then eat that. So maybe tomorrow, yeah, I'll have the burger, but the rest of my meals are gonna be my clean, normal meals. And the next day, I'll get the pizza and make sure I don't overindulge. I'll get like a small pizza so that I can't eat like 8 pieces of a large pizza, or make sure I'm sharing it with other people. I'll have some ice cream the next day. Pick one thing a day while still eating it, and that'll probably bring you up to the maintenance calorie level that you need anyways, and you'll be good to go. Something else to consider that I forgot to mention earlier about the weight fluctuations is that when you're dieting really low calories for a long time, something that a lot of people might not realize going into this is that you don't take dumps very often, like maybe every 2 or even 3 days sometimes, because you're eating so little that your body's literally using everything, and then you finally go after a few days. But then you think about all the food you eat in carb loading. I had like over 5,000 calories that day, and then the next day I was carb loading more and then ate a big meal afterwards and then ate a little bit more than maintenance the next day. So you have this huge influx of food, literal weight of food in your stomach that hasn't been there. So aside from filling up on carbs and then all the water that it holds, you also have all that actual weight of food in your stomach. And it might be a couple days before your body starts regulating and digesting that amount of food. So then, you know, that adds more pounds on top of it. So whereas, you know, I might have only actually eaten enough food that would make with the food and water refilling take me up to like 176 or 177 from like my low of 171. The actual weight of the food and having to be digested push that up towards 180. But after like 5-6 days, when you finally start going to the bathroom normally again and everything kind of regulates, then your weight's gonna get back to normal. So you just gotta keep in mind, you've got the dehydration, then all the carbs, then all the water, then overcompensation of holding water, then actual weight of food that your body has to process. Before you take a dump again, that's all gonna affect your weight. And that's why, especially during that first week after the show, you just gotta be really careful with when you see the weight on the scale, not letting it affect your mind, and just realize all the stuff that's happening, so long as you're not actually continuing to binge on a lot of food. And those 2 simple things will really help you to get in the right mindset. You'll look at yourself in the mirror a week later after all the weight fluctuations have calmed down and be like, wow, I still look really great, and I actually feel way better than I did a week ago. I remember going into peak week, I was just tired. My workouts weren't that great. I was getting weaker and weaker, but I remember I was doing my incline dumbbells. In every set, I got like 1 or 2 reps more than I had the previous week, just from eating at a maintenance level of calories. So my body fat percentage is pretty much the same as when I started peak week, but I'm at calorie maintenance versus a deficit, and just eating more food makes a big difference. So be aware, keep the mindset of, for one, I don't need a binge. I'm gonna look this certain way at a certain amount of time. Keep track of what your weight was at the start of peak week and shoot to be within a couple pounds of that a week later. And if you can do that while slowly upping your calories, bringing the cardio back down so that you get to that maintenance level, you just gotta kind of play around with it, track it, and see when you do, you'll probably feel a lot better. I haven't felt bloated, I haven't felt terrible. My sleep is getting better every single day. And I feel good. I just had a good workout now. So if you have any questions in general, you know, there's lots of stuff that goes into bodybuilding shows. I've got lots of videos on peak week, on diet, on training, what to expect at a bodybuilding show, all kinds of stuff. So let me know down in the comments if you have questions. Hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you soon.